Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Om Namo Bhagavate Vasudevaya.
Narayanam Namaskritya Naram Chaiva Narottamam Devim Saraswatim Vyasam Tato Nashraprayeshva Bhatreshu Nityam Bhagavata Sevaya Bhagavati Uttama Shloke Bhaktir Bhavati Naishtiki Krishne Swadhamo Bhagate Dhanamajnanadibhisah Kalau Nashta Drishamesha Puranarko Dhunotitah. This is Grantaraj Srimad Bhagavatam, Canto 10, Chapter 63, entitled Lord Krishna Fights with Banasura. Today we're on text number 40. So I'm just going to recite, or we all recite together? How does it work?
Usually just the speaker recites.
I'll just recite. Yanmaya mohitadhiyaha putradara grihadisho unmajjanti namajjanti prasakta vrijnarnave. Translation: their intelligence bewildered by your maya, fully attached to children, wife, home, and so on, persons immersed in the ocean of material misery sometimes rise to the surface and sometimes sink down. We have Bhagavad Gita. Purport by His Divine Grace A.C. Bhaktivedanta Swami Srila Prabhupada, founder and Acharya of the International Society for Krishna Consciousness, savior of the modern world. Srila Prabhupada Ki Jai. Srila Sridhar Swami explains that, quote, rising in the ocean of misery, end quote, indicates elevation to higher species such as the demigods, and that, quote, being submerged, end quote, refers to the degradation to lower species, even to immobile forms of life such as trees. As stated in the Vayu Purana, Viparyayascha bhavati brahmatva-stavaratvayoho. The living being rotates between the position of Brahma and that of an unmoving creature. Srila Jiva Goswami points out that Shiva, having glorified the Lord, now pursues his original intention of securing the Lord's grace for Banasura. Thus, in this and the following 4 verses, Lord Shiva instructs Bana on his actual position in relation to the Lord. Shiva's appeal to the Lord for compassion towards Bana appears in text 45. Om Jnanatimirantasya Jnananjanashalakaya Chakshurunmilitam Yena Tasmai Shri Gurave Namah Shri Chaitanya Manobhishtam Sthapitam Yena Bhutale Swayam Rupa Kadamahyam Dadati Svapadantikam Vandeham Shri Guroho Shri Yutaparakamalam Shri Gunun Vaishnavamscha Shri Rupam Sagrajatam Sahagana Raghunathan Vitam Tam Sajivam Sadvaitam Savadutam Harijana Sahitam Krishna Chaitanya Devam Shri Radha Krishna Padam Sahagana Lalita Shri Vishakhanvitamscha He Krishna Karuna Sindho Dinabandho Jagatpade Gopesha Gopika Kanta Radha Kanta Namostute Tatta Kanchana Gaurangi Radhe Vrindavaneshwari Vrishabhanusute Devi Pranamami Haripriye Vanchakalpatarubhyascha Kripa Sindhubhya Evacha Patitanam Pavanebhyo Vaishnavebhyo Namo Namaha. Jaya Shri Krishna Chaitanya Prabhu Nityananda Shri Advaita Gadadhara Shivasadi Gaura Bhakta Vrinda Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Madhgavira Gopala Swikuryat Kripayayadi, Tadaivasam Payapitva, Vishayustat Priyajanaha. Kinsha Mayashrayas, Kimcha Mayashrayasya, Anyan Mohayatas, Tava Kutaha Samsritir, Ityashayenaha Yanmayeti. Sridhar Swami explains that this verse is referring to those who have taken shelter of the material world, those who have strong faith in things like Putradishu Prasakta, they're attached to their children. What are the things mentioned here? The wife, the children, the house, etc. There's always the etc. here, Adishu. Just like we hear earlier in the Bhagavatam. What is that? Pashyanapina pashyati. Dehapatya kalatra adishu atma sainyeshva satsvapi tesham pramattanisanam pashyannatina pashyati. It is exactly the same spirit as that verse. So that what were we talking about here? Maya mohitati. Those persons whose intelligence is completely confused by Maya. And their attachment is to putra dara griha, the wife, the children, the wife, and the house. And of course the adishu, the etc. is there. So putradishu prasaktaha, they're attached to these things we know from Bhagavad Gita. Bhoga Ishvarya Prasaktanam Taya Prakritachetasam, etc. These people who are too attached to sense gratification, too attached to all their hopes and attachments in this material world, they cannot attain samadhi. They can't really concentrate too much on Krishna consciousness. For them it becomes very difficult. So that's the first thing he says. And then Vrijjanarnave, Dukkhasare. The word Vrijjanarnava is used here. Vrijjana is an interesting word. Vrijjana means pain. And here it's described as pain. Srila Prabhupada, or rather the BBT editors, are glossing the term as of misery. But the word Vrijjana actually means bent, crooked, what we say vakra in Hindi. So not entirely straight. And that's very suggestive, isn't it? Because this is the ocean of crooked people, material existence. Bhaktisiddhanta Saraswati Thakur said, there's only two kinds in this world. There's the persons who are cheating and the persons who are being cheated. And most of us are a little bit of each. In fact, it's guaranteed. If you're cheating, you're going to be cheated because somebody will come along and discover what is your real intention, ashaya. And they will then exploit that, and then you will be cheated. This is how it works. Everywhere and always, this is the system. Find your opponent, find your competitor, and everyone is our competitor in this world. And everyone is our potential opponent at least. Those who cooperate with our plan, they're considered to be friends. Those who don't cooperate with our plan are considered to be opponents. But in either case, everyone is envious, and this is our situation. So, vanchika, vanchita, we are either cheaters or we are being cheated, or both. So that's all implied here by the word vrijjana, which definitely means crooked, but it also means pained or distressed. And this is why they've translated it as the ocean of misery. In the fourth canto, there's one purport in which Srila Prabhupada describes this ocean of material existence. What is it that forms the ocean of material existence? All the tears of the living entities who are suffering here. And there's intense suffering in this world. So many people are suffering so badly. So Vaishnavas, they find that intolerable. The spirit of a Vaishnava is such that he cannot tolerate to see the sufferings of others. Para dukha dukhi. The conditioned souls, those who are described here, maya mohitati, they actually become very happy to see others suffering because it eliminates another potential competitor. He's out of the race. I have a better advantage. What's an example of this? If you somehow or other accidentally leak a deadly and unprecedented virus, and you find out that it's very infectious at the same time, then you might want to allow your people to go outside, but do not allow anybody, or allow other people inside, but do not allow your people outside. Or you can just ignore the problem, or you can even export it worldwide if you want, because at least according to literature, Marxist literature, the idea is that if you have a disadvantage, then you must share that disadvantage with your opponents. Otherwise, they'll get the upper hand. This is pure materialism. It is envy in its highest form. So this is what we're talking about here. It's all suggested here with the word Vrijanarnave, the ocean of suffering or the ocean of cheating, as however you want to look at it. And prasakta, that we've already said, everybody here is prasakta. But it's one thing to be sakta. Asakti means the same thing. Prasakti, asakti means intense attachment. So really, this is like proactive attachment. Prasakti, proactive attachment. That's the same intelligence. But let me just, there are people who are as if in samadhi, how to get the upper hand in this world and how to exploit everyone around them and how to avoid their tricks and how to come up with special tricks of your own by which others are dominated. This is the whole absorption of a person who is described here as maya mohita dhiya. Those whose intelligence is completely confused or bewildered by. Yan maya means yet here means yasya, your maya. So putra dara grihadishu, these are the things. Now what happens to these people? Can't see the clock. 7:30? Okay. What happens to these people? Udmadjanti nimadjanti cha. They sometimes go up and they sometimes are submerged. What does that mean exactly? This is an ocean of cheating. Sometimes they're on the upper hand of cheating, sometimes they're on the lower edge of cheating, but everybody's cheating. You really see this if you live in India. I'm sorry to say. All the way from the very top, all the way down to the germs. Everyone is cheating. Everyone. Here it's a little more subtle. We call it white collar crime, right? Crime with a smile, cheating with a smile. Very, very polite and very, civil and very, it's like Jayadvaita Swami gave a class. He was talking about how Hiranyakashipu was trying to do away with his own son. Can you imagine? That's almost as envious as a mother trying to kill the unborn child within her womb. But Hiranyakashipu, he was a very sophisticated. These persons are called Naradhamas, very sophisticated. In fact, it's mentioned here in chapter 7, text, anybody know? 15, you got it. Vasudev reads Prabhupada's book, so you might as well recite the verse for us. Chaturvidha bhajante mam jana Arjuna. So then namam dushkritanam, sorry, it's 16. Namam Dushkrishna Murha Prapadyante Naradhamaha. Yeah. Yeah, no, you're right. It is 15, sorry. Mayaya pahrita jnana asuram bhavam ashritaha. They take shelter of a demoniac spirit or demoniac ideals. Maybe we can even stretch it a little bit. That's what they take shelter of, because their jnana is all stolen away by Maya. And their dushkritis. Kriti means somebody who's very accomplished. In New York City, on this island of Manhattan, there are many very accomplished people, isn't it? Very accomplished. But there's two kinds of accomplishment. One is called sukriti, and the other one is called dushkriti. Sukriti means pious work. You've done, it's like we have this word, danavir, hero in giving charity. This is piety. Or, sacrifice, charity, austerity. These are the components in general of piety. By which we go up. And on the other hand, dushkritina, these are the people who are very accomplished, but in bad ways. Like people who invent atomic bombs or, other modes of destruction. Krishna elsewhere says they're engaged in unbeneficial, horrible works meant to destroy the world. So this is dushkriti. And Krishna's describing four kinds of dushkritis who do not surrender. Who are they? Namam dushkritino mudha, the idiots. We say clueless goats. Goats, if you live in India, you've seen goats. They're not so bright. I used to live in Texas. In Texas, we have a similar phenomenon. They're called armadillos. They're really dumb. You can just, they can't do anything. You can just do whatever you want to them, and they're just too stupid. Pints, we have buffalo, also not so smart. Cows are smart. They're very sensitive. They're very smart. They're not as smart as us, of course, but they are smart. So they have their own ideas and they have their own desires. And buffaloes, on the other hand, they're very dull. Whatever you say to a buffalo, he'll just agree. So, murhas. And then what's the other kind? Namam dushkritana murha prapadyante naradhama. This is the point that I'm actually coming to in a long-winded way. Naradhama Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says, he's somebody who's very sophisticated, very intelligent, very cultured, very polite, very civil, all of these things. But he's never, ever going to surrender to Krishna. This is called Naradhama. And Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur goes so far as to say that this is a person who's maybe wearing Vaishnava tilak and kanti mala and dressed like a Vaishnava, but he's a Naradhama. That's a little scary, isn't it? That's what he says. Anyway, so these are the people who do not surrender unto Krishna, and we're talking about this process of unmajjanti and nimajjanti, these people who are going up and going down. Now, how do you go up and down in this material world? Through piety or through impiety. If you're a sukriti, a very pious person, you go up. If you're a dushkriti, a very impious person, you will go down. So Sridhar Swami glosses these terms. Nimajjanti, unmajjanti devadi yonishu. If you take birth as a demigod, then you're considered to be going up in this mature world. And if you take birth as an immobile living being, what kinds of living beings are immobile? Trees, this is the example given in the purport. Many living entities are immobile. A quadruple paraplegic is also immobile. It therefore is considered to be the result of sinful activity. So, stavaradishu, those who are in such categories, nimajjanti, they're being submerged. So where is all this elevation or submersion happening? Where is it? What is the locus? Yeah, the whole thing is in the ocean of cheating or the ocean of suffering. It just doesn't make much difference. It's like Prabhupada said, wet stool or dry stool. There's no difference. In India, we have gobar, cow dung patties. Wet ones are, somebody might consider that they're better. Dry ones, and somebody might consider that they're better, but it's stool. Of course, with gobar, it's different. It's purified, but stool is stool. So wet stool, dry stool makes no difference. So whether you're going up in material life or going down in material life, it doesn't make any difference because you're in the ocean of suffering and you're in the ocean of cheating both. So this is all implied here by these words. Unmajjanti namajjanti. Prasakta, because they're attached in the ocean of this cheating. And then it's already been pointed out, he's quoting from Vayaviye, means the Vayu Purana, his sub-commentator Vamshitara explains that for us. Somebody might be confused. What is this Vayaviya? Means the Vayu Purana. All right, so, and regarding that verse, which is quoted, Viparyayascha bhavati brahmatva stavaratvayoho. The living being rotates between the position of being Brahma and that of an unmoving creature. So we're suffering in these ways. And this viparyaya here, he means vaiparityam, being in the position of opposition to the Lord. So we are all worried about potential opposition to our plans in this material world, but we're not too worried about our own opposition to the Supreme Lord. We are also envious. Sanatana Goswami, evams bhakteshveva kripam prakashayati, natu abhakteshveti, te sada dukkhina evetyaha yad iti, yasya tavamayaya. By your maya, he says, we're talking about people in this verse who are not devotees. We're not talking about the devotees. For the devotees only, the Lord is manifesting or illuminating his mercy. But this verse is talking about the non-devotees. Similarly, Vishwanath Chakravarti Thakur says much the same thing. You are that person who appears in order to show your mercy to the jivas and uplift them. But the jivas, they are patita samsara sindho. They are fallen in the ocean of material existence, and we've already described that. So that's what's being described in this verse. Anybody has any questions or any comments? Yes.
Can you hear me okay? None to be hurry?
I think they can hear you.
You can hear okay?
Yeah, I do.
So, wonderful topic and brilliant presentation by Prabhu here, that some people see Krishna and some people don't. And there are things that contribute to us actually perceiving how wonderful is Krishna. And there are things, he was quoting that verse, one who's attracted by material opulence and is bewildered by such things. The resolute determination, Prabhupada says, the resolute determination for devotional service to the Lord does not take place. So we give them a roadmap and a choice, and Krishna is so wonderful. You know, basically we're indicating that Krishna is so wonderful that he's beckoning us to make the right choice. And some things are extremely attractive and pleasing at first, but then like poison at the end. And devotional service to Krishna may seem to be bitter, at least in the beginning, but then in the end it's very sweet. So we are encouraged to not just see things as they appear to be, but see things as they actually are, and associate with the people that are giving themselves. And I was wondering, sometimes we're instructed, don't be too heavy in the Bhagavatam class because some people will not want to hear this. Be gentle and encouraging, and remember to say that if someone does their honest best, Krishna's pleased. That criteria is not just like that we have to compare ourselves to the, some exalted personality, but if we're actually doing our sincere best, even a humble person can please the Lord. And there's that quote by Saint Teresa of Lisieux. Not everyone is called upon to do great things for the Lord, but any one of us can do some small thing with great love. So it's encouraging to know that we do have access to a successful endeavor. Anyway, we're not contradicting anything you said, just a reflection. Vaisheshekha always uses that word, reflection, to emphasize or enhance something that's already been explained very nicely. Thank you very much, Hare Krishna. Glory to Prabhupada.
Thank you. You had a question
I
also?
did have a question. I was wondering how one can, personal question, how one should take shelter of the instruction from the spiritual master to try to transcend or escape this submerging and emerging of this ocean.
Yeah, we have to follow the instructions. We say all the time, Guru Mukunda Chitete Puriyaikya, Arana Kalamani Asha. We receive an instruction, but we carefully note it down, we record it, we make sure that we, maybe take a picture of it or whatever, but simple thing to do is follow it. Simple thing. If Prabhupada says, you rise early in the morning, then we rise early in the morning. Prabhupada says, chant 16 rounds, and we follow the instruction. Simply follow the instruction. Hearing that stops when the speaker stops speaking, Prabhupada says all the time, that's not real hearing. In other words, hearing means acting. If we've heard the instruction of the spiritual master, then it's obvious there's a response that's expected. If he asks for water and you speculate that milk is even better than water, then you're not hearing really. So we just follow the instructions. It's very simple. Disciple means discipline. What is that? That Christian order? I think it's the Cistercians. They have poverty, chastity, obedience. So we have to manifest some of these qualities, and we have to keep simple. We have to keep humble, faithful, and obedient. And then we really recognize what the order of the spiritual master means, and we can really derive the benefit of it. Otherwise, it's just, if it's an intellectual or a mental exercise or even a sensual exercise, there are some people who just come for the prasadam, right? So, and that's great. They will make advancement. I've seen prasadam work wonders. But, we can do more. We have that potential. Is that okay?
Thank you.
Anything else?
Yes. I'm wondering, when you talked about material attachments, I found it interesting that you mentioned like the family, because my understanding is, like when people have kids, that is a service. I understand that mothers have to give up everything else, to take care of their kids. So I was curious as to why you mentioned family with material attachments.
Okay, good question. I mentioned it because Shukdev Goswami mentions it, and this is not the only place in the Bhagavatam that he mentions it. That means that there's an important lesson to be had in particularly singling out that there's a problem with over-attachment to mundane things. And what is that problem? We can't hold on to them forever. They're very distracting. They may encourage the wrong mentality that we're trying to rectify in our hearts. So these are problems. Many times it's stated like that. of course, you've very rightly pointed out that one has to be responsible in this world and one can derive tremendous benefit from these things as well. It's always, there's positive advantages and there are negative disadvantages. It's always like that. This particular verse is emphasizing the negative disadvantages, and that's important. Is that okay?
Yeah.
Anything else? Yes, Vasudeva.
Could you elaborate some more about how everyone is cheating in this world and how everyone is cheated?
Hare Krishna. I would be embarrassed because I'm a cheater too. We all have our program of, our Devamrita Swami calls it our God project, in which we are all, trying to really, in effect, we're trying to take the position of God and, push him out of the picture. We're trying to exploit all of his resources and all of his parts and parcels. And, we're trying to evade his authority, and we're trying to evade his representatives also. And, in these ways, we're cheating. So, it really is an outrageous proposal, our God project. But Maya has conditioned us to the degree that we just accept it as completely normal, and we can't understand why somebody might be such a fanatic as to suggest otherwise. This is the problem. Cheating. Vanshaka vanshita. We want to call this process of actually trying to exploit the Lord's. Sometimes we even try to exploit the Lord himself. Who's doing that? The Sahajiyas. They love Krishna, but only for their own sense gratification. So that's also cheating. Basically, Srila Prabhupada manages to offend pretty much everyone sooner or later throughout his books. Because, this is the world meant for people who have a problem with Krishna. And if you're pushing on this point of exclusive surrender to Krishna, then people become upset by that because the disease is very strong and we all have it. This is the point to recognize. It's a little bit easier to take these hard things from somebody who admits that he's got the same problem. So, we ourselves have to be humbler than a blade of grass, more tolerant than a tree, respectful of others, and without expecting any honor in return. But, the fact of the matter is that at the present moment, for most of us, I would say 99.9% of us, the spontaneous inclination that we have is to try to exploit the Lord or his energies or his parts and parcels and to try to deny his authority or downplay his majesty or something like this. We're not interested in causeless devotional service to the Lord without any selfish motive, either in the realm of karma and again. This is the problem. Is that helpful? Somebody else had a question. No? Okay.
Yes, thank you very much for a wonderful class. I was just on this point about attachment to family. I would always found it quite balancing Prabhupada's purport to 13:8-12, where he mentions this point. Of course, he said there are positives there. And he says, as for detachment from children, wife, and home, it is not meant that one should have no feeling for these.
Yes.
And they are natural objects of affection, but when they are not favorable to spiritual progress, then one should not be attached to them.
Very nice point.
And he goes on to mention how through Krishna consciousness, family life can actually be, as you mentioned, beneficial. So like that. I always appreciate that.
Yeah, the benefit of family life is because dharma vihina pashuvas. What is that?
Pashubhi samana.
Yeah. Dharmasya hina pashubhi samana. Without dharma, we cannot really be a human being. And without being a human being, we cannot take the Krishna consciousness. So it's very important that to derive the benefit of family life, we have to adhere to the injunctions of the Shastra regarding dharma. That will elevate our consciousness such that we can cultivate proper gyan, and that gyan is the basis of surrendering to Krishna. But somehow or other, if we surrender to Krishna, no matter what our position, that is the best thing. And that we are encouraging directly, everyone, simply by chanting Hare Krishna, Krishna Krishna, Hare Hare, Hare Rama, Rama Rama, Hare Hare. Is that okay? You also wanted to say something?
Yeah. Hare Krishna. The verse and purport seem to pivot on those that see Krishna and those that don't, and those that facilitate seeing Krishna and those that don't. And Krishna gave us an interesting experience one time. We were doing Harinam, and this man confronted me and separated me from the chanting party. And he was emphatically and viciously saying, "I'm an atheist. What do you have to say about that?" I said, I'm thinking you're not supposed to preach to the faithless. I said, well, that's good. Okay, I got to go. He said, no, you're supposed to preach. You're supposed to tell me I'm a demon. You're supposed to tell me I'm ignorant. You're supposed to tell me I'm going to hell. You're supposed to tell me I'm stupid and you know what's right and I don't know anything. And I was like, apparently he's talked to devotees before. I got somebody talk to him like that, So I was praying to Krishna because I didn't know what to say to this guy because he was holding my kirtan.
Okay.
And he wouldn't let me go, I said, okay, so Krishna gave me an unusual way to respond. He said, could you explain to me, from your understanding, what would a person who has the highest level of consciousness be like? So since we were inquiring submissively, he became he said, and he started holding his hand like this and talking about a Rambo movie, boom, 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 blah, blah, blah. I was like, oh my God, what the hell is he talking about, So then I prayed to Krishna, and Krishna said, well, I get it. Let me see if this is what you're saying. You're saying Rambo had the highest consciousness because if death came, he would accept it. That's it. I said, well, that's totally according to scripture. Mritya Sarvahara. Krishna says, for the atheist, I am death. It's not that he wasn't seeing Krishna, but he was seeing an aspect of Krishna, death. That's an aspect of Krishna. So he said, you're not going to argue with me? I said, no, that's a genuine aspect. What? I said, well, the absolute truth has many aspects, like a diamond. One part looks bluish, one looks greenish, one is silver, one is golden, one is white. So you're looking at a genuine aspect. You mean there's other aspects? I said, yeah, we have an aspect that we appreciate, although we know that yours is a genuine aspect. Well, tell me about that, your aspect. I said, no, you have your aspect, we have our aspect. I gotta go. I couldn't get away from the guy, I said, okay, across the street we have a little preaching center right up on the second floor. Come up there, I'll give you a book. Went up there, we talked for a little while, and he really appreciated the fact that he was seeing an aspect of Krishna. I wasn't telling him he was stupid and he was ignorant. I said, this is a genuine aspect of the absolute truth. Krishna, I didn't know what to say, Krishna gave me what to say. And he gave a $20 donation. He took prasadam. He took the Bhagavad Gita. He gave me a big hug, and he thanked me very much. And I was like, wow, Krishna, how did Krishna, so everybody's seeing Krishna. It's not that they're not seeing Krishna, but they don't see Krishna as Krishna. And then can we actually encourage them in their respect for death, I don't know. Maybe that was a weird experience. Maybe my take on it isn't. Please.
Well, yeah, no, this is a wonderful observation. New York City is a very interesting place.
This was in Philadelphia.
Anyway, yeah, no, the Prabhupada often says that we have to find the ways and means of injecting spiritual consciousness into the dull brains of the gross materialists. This kind of thing we hear throughout Srila Prabhupada's books. So yeah, that requires a lot of empathy. And that's a great gift to have that. It's not, as far as I can tell, any kind of skill that you can really develop. It's just something that is given by God. So
yes.
Yeah, I mean, and you were able to connect that person's realization with the absolute truth in a very creative way by Paramatma's grace.
By Krishna's grace.
That's the kind of thing we have to do to engage people. You have to engage them where they're at, and you have to find the ways and means to do that. Really, the thing is that there are no atheists. There really aren't any atheists. Because if you really know how to push someone in a certain way, or if you really know how to elicit the correct response, then you will find that everybody has some faith. It's just perverted faith. That's the problem. So he had some faith, but his faith was perverted, and you were able to somehow or other, connect what you were saying with his understanding of what he wanted. And that's very important. That's very, very important. Only someone with empathy can do that. Or, it's maybe by Paramatma's grace.
Yes.
So that's, I think, my opinion is that's why Krishna says that his opinion is that the best yogi is someone who has empathy. And we see Srila Prabhupada had that. So much empathy that devotees felt that Prabhupada was reading their minds. I know Tamal Krishna Goswami was like that. In about 2 or 3 minutes, he could figure out anybody. What's their faith? What are their material desires? What's their adhikar for devotional service? Everything he knew. So it's, for a preacher, it's absolutely essential quality to have that empathy. Chapter 6, text 32, Bhagavad Gita, Atmaupamyena Sarvatra. I'm translating Atmaupamya as empathy, but it's the same thing. Anything else? Yes.
Well, I was wondering, I've seen both extremes. We might run out of time, but both extremes as far as denying that I might have any envy, and then also the other extreme of
I'm so envious I'll never take the Krishna consciousness.
something like this, too extreme of like identifying with the disease to the unhealthy degree.
Yeah.
How does one observe this is here without identifying with it?
Yeah. So is this a question? I'm not getting.
Yeah. How can one go about taking an honest look within our own hearts to see what is there, but also not becoming so discouraged or identifying with it that we
Well,
stop?
discouragement comes when we think that we're the ones who are affecting any change within ourselves, and that's not a fact. It comes by mercy only, by Krishna's grace and his divine grace. And that's why we just recognize that I'm so fallen, but if I follow this person, then I will be elevated, Zurur, definitely. So that's, and Krishna can do that because he can put an elephant through the eye of a needle, right? This is faith. So we just have to have that faith, and we have to try our best, as he said in the beginning, to act on that faith, and then we will see. Lo and behold, we become Krishna conscious. It's just a question of patience and determination and enthusiasm and following the principles and keeping good association and leading a clean life, avoiding bad association, according to Goswami. Okay, so I think we have to end now. Thank you all very much. All glories to Srila Prabhupada.
All glories to Srila.
Hare Krishna.
Jai.
No. Shishirana Murlidhar Shigar Chandra Ki Jai. Okay, so let the Kurukshetra battle begin for today. We heard the conch. It's a sign of victory for Krishna. Wonderful. So for that guy, his aspect of Krishna, of relating to Krishna, was through Rainbow. What was it for you, Bhima Prabhu, before you joined? Was it Mickey Mouse or something? What aspect did you connect with?
Bimbo. Bimbo the elephant. Always making mistakes and finding myself in the swamp of the morass of my wrong decisions.
Nice, Bhima Prabhu. Thank you. Anyone wants to share anything? Do you have your Rainbow story? How are you relating to God? I know Anandi and Donald, they see God in nature, which is a bona fide way. Anybody wants to speak? Don't feel obliged. I'm just inviting. This is just an invitation. Oh. All right, so Bimba the elephant it is then for today. We love you, we need you. We're wishing you a wonderful day. Try to apply what you learned today. We learned a lot from Mukunda Datta Prabhu. also from observing him as a Vaishnava. It's a very good therapy to observe someone like that, someone on that level. Okay, Angel says, my favorite verse is how the prostitutes came to worship Krishna. These womanly hardships helped connect with me, with him. Great. Thank you, Angel. There's a story that Adipurusha Prabhu says. I can't think exactly how it goes, but there was this prostitute, and she had a parrot in her room where she would do her, job. There was a parrot, and that parrot had learned a shloka because previously he was owned by a sage, and that parrot was reciting Bhagavad Gita, one shloka. I'll tell you which shloka it is. So he was reciting that shloka, and the girl got uplifted, and I think she took another birth, a very auspicious birth or something like that. So she was uplifted big time just by hearing a parrot reciting Bhagavad Gita. And the shloka the parrot recited was, hold it. What's that shloka? I forget. I'm forgetting it. Dehinosmin yata dehe komram yovanam jara tata deha trapraptir dira statra namuhyati. Just like a person goes through childhood, youth, old age, in the same way we change our bodies in due course. And a sober person is not bothered is not bewildered by such a change. Just like we're changing, we're going from youth to old age and so forth. So in the same way we change our bodies, and a sober person is not disturbed by that. So that's the shloka that the parrot recited to that girl, and she got promoted and uplifted big time by hearing that. Thank you, Angel. Thank you very much. Yeah, no matter where we are, there's a way in which we can draw the line between where we are and Krishna. This is done by practicing, by following the Guru, Sadhu Shastra, by sticking to other Vaishnavas, and ultimately it's all done by the mercy of Krishna. He is the one who does the heavy lifting of helping us with our impurities. He's the one doing the job. We're just following. Okay, I'm blabbing again. So, right. Thank you very much for your association, your devotees. Have a wonderful day. It was nice seeing you. Hare Krishna.